Rand Paul blows the whistle. Let's play hardball. Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in Washington, and tonight a Republican whistleblower and a presidential candidate to boot. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky calls his party out for ISIS and the stupid, disastrous war that tore apart Iraq. Whatever you think of Paul, this takes guts. It's already drawing fire from the clown car. Here he was on Morning Joe today. Let's watch.
A lot of people are trapped inside the Beltway, and they think that war is always the answer. But I'm asking some difficult questions of Republicans. Do you think the invasion of Iraq made it more stable or us more safe? We now have ISIS to contend with.
Right. Lindsey Graham would say ISIS exists because of people like Rand Paul, who said, let's not go into Syria. And what do you say to Lindsey?
I would say it's exactly the opposite. ISIS exists and grew stronger because of the hawks in our party who gave arms indiscriminately, and most of those arms were snatched up by ISIS. These hawks also wanted to bomb Assad, which would have made ISIS's job even easier. They created these people. Everything that they've talked about in foreign policy, they've been wrong about for 20 years, and yet they have somehow the gall to keep saying and pointing fingers otherwise.
I'm joined by Mother Jones' David Corn, also an MSNBC analyst, and syndicated columnist Kathleen Parker. Kathleen, let me ask you first, because I think I know where he's heading. I'm stunned. It takes a lot of guts to come out to the Republican Party and say, this party that I'm a member of got us into ISIS. It blew apart Iran. I mean, it blew apart Iraq. It got it all. It took away. They Baathist, did everything in the world. For 20 years, they've been wrong, and we're still listening to them because they've got the gall to keep speaking. I mean, the Democrats don't do it as well as Rand Paul's done it. Blow these guys apart.
Yeah, he's done the opposition research already, but I think this is what we call differentiation. This is where Rand Paul is definitely trying to separate himself from the rest of the herd.
But he believes it.
He does believe it. And by the way, I think what he's trying to do is carve out a path between isolationism and neoconservatism. He's trying to, there's nothing wrong with asking the questions he's asking. I mean, when people are, I've seen some of these other candidates who are saying, we're going to track them down, we're going to rip out their jugulars, we're going to drink their blood.
I'm a little water on this. As you might expect, I'm a little water, Dave, because I think he really believes what he says. I think he's an Ayn Rand objectivist, what do you call it, libertarian all the way. And guys like Bobby Jindal, they make it up every day. They're day traders. Whatever's working, they pick it up and throw it at somebody. They don't have any beliefs.
The interesting about Rand Paul is like his dad, and remember his dad got eaten alive on the debates.
By the Giuliani Express there,
for being against the Iraq War. He's a skeptic, or he's anti-intervention overseas, and his challenge has been, and we've seen this over the past year, that often he talks from his heart, as he did today, says what he really believes. I think it's a solid critique, but almost inevitably, within a week or two, he sort of comes back in because he doesn't want to get too far out of the Republican tent. He was all for killing all aid to Israel and every other country, and then he flip-flopped on that.
So what's that tell you? What's that tell you? Is he covering for his true beliefs, which would be what drives him if he were ever to be elected? What's real? The cover or the reality?
No, I think he really believes in getting rid of USAID and being anti-interventionist.
I think he's a believer.
And I think he is very far out of the GOP mainstream, and he's trying to find a way to keep a foot over the line, and this fight's going to keep on going for the next year.
Well, I think it's definitely going to hurt him. With the base, they're just not going to.
Well, let's take a look at one of the shots that went at him a couple hours later. Didn't take long for Senator Rand Paul's statement on ISIS on Morning Joe to get attacked from a fellow Republican. Here's Bobby Jindal, a likely rival but an unlikely president today. Here he said, this is a perfect example, Jindal said, of why Senator Paul is unsuited to be commander-in-chief. We have men and women in the military who are in the field trying to fight ISIS right now, and Senator Paul is taking the weakest, most liberal Democrat. Boy, there's a giveaway. Democrat as an adjective position. We should all be clear about that evil and radical Islam are at fault for this rise of ISIS, and people like President Obama and Hillary Clinton exacerbate. So he's supposed to attack evil. What is this? The Middle Ages? This is exorcism. This is weird. The enemy here is evil.
Well, it goes back to
Jindal is an exorcist. You do know that.
Jindal is an exorcist, I know.
But it goes back to the axis of evil and these very grand terms that they use to cover up sort of a neocon imperialistic interventionist approach. He's trying to make it sound like Rand Paul is out of the mainstream conversation. And then you have people like Jeb Bush, who the other day said ISIS did not exist until Barack Obama became president, which was so wrong. It started in 2004 to 2006. So the Republicans out there like him and Bobby Jindal will say whatever
Okay, let me talk about
Try to name any candidate out there who's a capable commander-in-chief, by the way.
Okay, I understand.
These are hard
Let me
jobs.
explain my history of following politics.
Okay.
The person who wins the presidency is the man, so far, probably a woman next time, still, I think it's her advantage, Hillary Clinton, who figures out what is in the American soul at that time that's really motivating them. What's the thing that you get to that? It's something like romance. You're trying to find what that other person is. And right now, I think there's a surprising level of war weariness in the Republican rank and file. Not the big shots of the people with money to spend $200 million on a candidate, but the real regular person in states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Iowa are really ripped about these wars. And if one of the candidates will stand up and say, you know what? I'm willing to say it. We've made mistakes. We shouldn't have been so hawkish. That guy might have it figured out because the rest of them are just off-the-rack hawks.
Right. Well, there's got to be a different way of approaching it. I mean, really, who's willing to put boots on the ground, and that's the only way?
That's the weird thing.
That's the only way.
So they say they're for war, but
nobody is.
Yeah,
You're going to send
there is a fear, I think, of ISIS out there amongst the public that they're trying to exploit by sounding tough without committing to anything real, like boots on the ground.
You saw what we did last night with the cartoon of the little animal in Lion King.
Yes.
Yeah, let me at him as you put your arms back to be stopped. Anyway, when it comes to foreign policy and national security, talking tough seems to be essential for Republican contenders in 2016. Let's watch the acts.
Leading from behind is not a foreign policy. We need to re-engage with the rest of the world, that our friends know that we're not just here this week or next, that we're in it for the long haul, and our enemies need to twitch a little bit. They need to fear us a little bit.
It is heartbreaking to see Iraq fall apart. And the only way I know to defend this nation is for some of our soldiers to go back and partner with the Iraqis to stop ISIL before it's too late.
People ask, what should our strategy be on global jihadists and terrorists? I refer them to the movie Taken. We will look for you, we will find you, and we will kill you.
And let there be no doubt, Israel will know, as will the whole world, that we are their trusted friend, and the Ayatollahs of Iran will know that hell will freeze over before they get a nuclear weapon.
You know, that is not an appeal to people who are pro-Israeli. That's an appeal to the evangelical religious right. That sees all these wars in biblical terms.
But not necessarily, because, by the way, there's a large contingent of those folks whose children do go to war often.
Well, then why are they cheering?
I'm not sure they are. I'm not sure they are. They may be cheering Huckabee for a lot of reasons, but look, they're all afraid. Everybody's worried about ISIS.
You know, we talk about.
Am I talking while you want to interrupt? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
See, I helped you there.
You go ahead. Go ahead, please.
I've already forgotten what I was saying.
No, Kathleen, this is verbal aggression
I just
doesn't win
don't
here.
think bellicosity will work this time around. And by the way, the Republicans do have to win a general election and not just a primary. So when they're appealing to all these, you know, to the base, as these four that we just witnessed it, I think they're completely off base. I really do. Because when you get right down to it, the question is exactly what are you going to do? How are you going to hunt these people down, and how are you going to kill them? Are you going to put our troops in there? Are you going to put our women in there? Have them be captured? We know what they do to hostages. Are we really going to do that?
Well, the thing is,
that's my number one fear. What happens when one of our GIs gets grabbed in uniform
you bet.
and gets in 2 or 3 weeks to sweat the fact they're going to be burnt alive, and we watch all this happening, then what's our next step? We can't let that sit there.
Right.
Well, the thing
then
is,
we do go to some wild out
We used to talk about chicken hawks, people who hadn't served, who were very bellicose, to use your word. I think what these
you
guys...
took a shot at Bill Kristol on that front.
What these guys are doing...
My brother served in Vietnam. What can I say?
I read the column.
I would call them hollow hawks. You know, they talk the talk, but they really don't know what to say. So Marco Rubio thinks he can become president by using movie slogans. Now, Ronald Reagan did that with Make My Day and things like that, yes. But he also had some policy behind it, which you and I didn't agree with. But, you know, I think Marco Rubio really thinks it just
What did we disagree with? My memory's not that long. When did we last disagree? What was that?
When was the last time? I don't know. Was it...
what was it? Was
Eugene McCarthy?
I was with McCarthy. Who are you? Joe McCarthy. No, I'm just kidding. I was with Gene. But what were you telling me? I want to know what you're going to fight about here.
No, I don't want to fight.
What was it where we once disagreed?
No, we disagreed with Ronald Reagan, but I'm saying there was policy.
I disagree with Ronald
That's
Reagan.
what I'm saying.
I spent 6 years opposing
I'm saying the same thing.
Right, okay.
But I'm saying he used movie slogans. They thought it was useful, but he also had policy behind it. Rubio has ditched the policy. He's just using the slogans, thinking that somehow is going to register. I think it's interesting. These guys all are setting themselves up for a fight, a general election fight, against a female candidate. Do they think talking tough is a way to
Well, I
work
got
there?
news for you on that score. I remember being in the Bush White House and they're being more in favor of Hillary Clinton because they felt that she could handle the foreign policy issues that were going to come up than they were for Barack Obama. So they did have faith in her as a potential commander-in-chief, as opposed to many others, let's say.
I think the line you were trying to remember of Ronald Reagan was, Mr. Breen, I paid for this microphone.
No, it's going to make my day.
When you were duking it out with Kathleen over who got the mic. Anyway, thank you, David Corn. Thank you, Kathleen Parker. And just a reminder, Rand Paul will be here on Hardball, or rather, we'll be with him on Friday. Coming up.